At the end of my batteries. Hail, hail! The Celtics are here, and we're back on the Sorare Celtic Supporters Club. It's been a wee week or two since we've been here, but we've got a lot to chew over. I am, of course, Quinny, and I'm joined as always by my, I was going to say my co-pilot, but that's Harry Trades, my brother in arms, as it were, McBride Ace. McBride, good to see you, mate. Hail, hail!
I was wondering where you were going with that there. The banter years are back. Hail, hail. Hope everybody's well, enjoying the football season.
That's a great point you bring up, McBride. Now, you know, it's funny, right? Because I've never really felt that the banter years have left us, right? But I see what you just said. It's just reminded me of something I tweeted yesterday, because this, I'm just going to put it on, right? I don't know if you've seen it or not, but this, honestly, for me, have you seen this video of them training?
I think I have, yeah.
It is the most, honestly, like, not to sound like a dick, sorry about swearing in the show. I've got a UEFA B license, right? Which isn't really, that's not the point. The point is like, this stuff that they're doing here is like, you know, for 8-year-olds. You know, it's like, I'm just going to play it. It's only a minute in case any of you haven't seen it. You get to hear them talking as well. I couldn't believe this is, Clement's just been sacked. They've got Hun Direction in, or, I heard a belter of a one, Masonic Street Preachers, and there's a few belters going around. Anyway, they brought in the boy band.
That was really good.
Yeah, it's a belter. They've brought them in to save the day, and this is the first training session to get the players on side and to get them up for the Kilmarnock game. Did you hear it?
Let's go, Neil. I'm sorry, yes. Oh! Watch this, move, come on. Remember when you catch it, you're on the
move. This is my favourite bit.
I'm on the move and I'm talking. He needs to know where I am. It's relative. You're on the move. The guy's off the ball, you're demanding it. What you would do in the game, okay? Get a stretch. Get your two touch in your head.
I think that's essentially the end of it. But when Billy Dodds comes in talking about the professional players, like talk, train how you play, get two touches on your head and all that, I was like, oh my God, this is way worse. Like, when they appointed these guys, I didn't really want to start the show off with talking about them. We didn't want to laugh at them, and I guess we'll just do it. But I cannot believe how bad that looked. Like, I thought, like, surely they cannot get worse. Come on, and maybe after the Kilmarnock game, I'd maybe return to that point of view. They did get the win in the end, and come on, probably wouldn't have done that. So I do find, like, the Ferguson whole thing, it's not that easy to laugh at, because they'll probably have a wee bounce. It's all about the Derby match, of course, on the 16th of March. But when I seen that, honestly, I was like, it's so bad if that's the answer to the problem we've got.
It's obviously not the answer. It's a temporary thing, and it's just like, somebody's got to get to the end of the season, and then you do some planning or whatever from there. But it's just incredible. I mean, I have to say, like, and I'm not gloating now, like, because you know me, I'm not like that. But I backed Queen. Who's it? Queen's Park beat them, wasn't it? I backed Queen's Park at 41, and then when we lost at the weekend, the first thing I did was I went and put a bet on St Mirren at 14-1, because you can bet your bottom dollar any time in the last couple of seasons that Celtic have dropped points or done badly. Rangers have been awful. So it's just a reaction. So maybe we should have had the double before the Hibs game, like after us getting knocked out of Europe. So we could beat as well, but you can bet your bottom dollar that, like, in those games, that the other teams get a good chance. So kind of ties in a wee bit, because obviously we've got St Mirren at the weekend and we get beat by Hibs and stuff. But like, yeah, for once on the bookies, I'm miles up this season, and the whole tactic's been like put some money on the team that's playing against Rangers. Like that's been the only tactic. So
it's been a smooth one as well.
It's like big state. It's just like putting on the odd tenner or whatever. Because Queen's Park were 41 at half time. I mean, like, crazy. But Rangers are a strong team out that day. They just weren't firing, weren't doing well. It was one of those cup games, So there we go. But let's get back to talking about Celtic, because we've got loads of stuff to celebrate this season, and having a good laugh's obviously one of them. But there we go.
We could, yeah, and we might swing back to having a laugh at them, because there's maybe one or two more points we can have a bit of fun with. There's a bunch of you joining us live and loud. Lovely to see it on a Thursday night, everyone. So thanks to everyone that is tuning in. Fist bumps from me on arrival, certainly. If you could do us a massive favour, but the way YouTube, and if you're on Facebook as well, the way social media works is the more likes that come onto the show for however many people are watching it is an indicator of how good the show is. And when they think it's a good show, Facebook or YouTube, they then think, okay, let's go and find some more Celtic fans and try and get them in the chat. So we can get some more Jungle Gyms to join us. We'll have a bit more of a party. We'll have a few more bits of laughter in the room. Support the show. Help us. We've just hit 11,000 subs. We're pushing for 18,888. And it all adds up, guys. So if you can, take the phone out your pocket, change the tab on your screen, whatever you need to do. Smash that like button. Hit subscribe if you haven't done so already. And in terms of looking after our own place, McBride, I don't really know where the best place is to pick up a few mates. Because we've been speaking, obviously. We chat all the time. And we've had a couple of games since the last time we were on here. I think post Bayern Munich would have probably been the last time we were together on here. So we've had like Hibs and all the rest of it. So you've mentioned the Hibs loss that we had. We've also had a very weird win over Aberdeen, where it was a very emphatic scoreline. We got tons of goals, but even watching the highlights back to refresh anyone's memory, we could have been 2 or 3 down in that one. Kind of similar to the Kilmarnock game the Rangers just had in a way, but they didn't take their chances, and then we went on to punish them. So, where would you like us to kick off, or anything you want to get us up to speed with for your POV?
Yeah, I think probably talk about Aberdeen. Like, I was actually planning to come on last week, and then I was hit with the old sickness bug that seems to be around the whole of every school and every household in Scotland at the moment. But Aberdeen, yeah, it's a weird one. After the European game against Hibs played very well. Came out, they were firing, and it's kind of one of those Celtic maybe just a wee bit sluggish after all the sort of different games. And then Aberdeen kind of felt a wee bit relatively similar. It didn't feel as if we were actually playing well, but Dyson done his usual, didn't he? Just like totally, get one chance, bang, he scored, and that sort of lifted the place. But I suppose we've conceded 3 goals in the league at home all season, and 3 of them have all been from Aberdeen. So, it's not as if we're making a big habit of it, right? We went on, we scored 5 goals, etc. So I think we're just getting to the stage now where maybe there's a bit of sort of tiredness in the legs with this huge run of games that we've had. It's been intense since like Christmas, games like almost every 3 days and things. Bernardo's out, harder to rotate the midfield, that type of stuff. So yeah, it was a good win in the end, but I felt as if we kind of started similarly to Hibs, and you were thinking, yeah, you could easily find yourself going behind here. It was looking like one of those until Dyson worked his magic.
So it's one of those ones, right, where I think since the Bayern Munich game, we have really seen heavy legs in the squad, either from 1 or 2 individuals, or like you say, the start at Hibs, the start at Aberdeen. There's been little waves in the match where it just looks like everyone's got like one of those backpacks, the SAS, strap on themselves before they go running up a hill. Like some of them just look like they're running in mud, and they need that little second wind to get going again. And I think that's an important thing. Brendan mentioned it post-match with the Aberdeen game, I think, where like at this time of the year, with the split approaching, there's not too many games actually like penciled onto the fixture list at the moment. It's easy to kind of zoom out a little bit at this point and look back and go, Jesus, man, we have the team has played and we know this from Sorare purposes because we're playing lineups all the time, but we have literally had a game every 3 days for it's February now. I'm going to say since November. It could be October, but like legitimately in all competitions. And, I was thinking about this the other day, right? But see with this new formatted Champions League, we love it. We've done great with it, right? But it added in 2 European games into January. And also we did great. We got out of that. And we get the games that if we were in the Europa League or the Champions League in the old formats and you go out the group, you then in February-ish get your 2 legs and your knockout or whatever. So we had that, which is fine. But that says up to 10 European games with no qualifiers. And I know the season's gone by where we've had 3 rounds or 2-leg qualifiers or whatever. But that's got to be one of our most it has to be one of our most active seasons in Europe. Never mind all the stuff we're used to domestically, 38 games, cup finals, however many games they run out to be. So at this point in the season, there's like an extra 4 matches of like real purpose and intensity that have been played, like in January and because 2 of the Champions League games in January. So there's an extra workload that the teams had to manage, and domestically it does feel like our depth is really good. We did feel against Bayern that you kind of see the level of depth we have in terms of the quality where it can carry you. But that all aside, like the team isn't that deep, you know. Like we've only got like 1 winger as backup. We've got like no centre mids as backup. Well, McKeown for 1, and whatever else for the rest of the squad. So it's been a monumental task this season, and it's kind of easy to get swept away with the current result, isn't it? But what an effort the lads have been putting in for the last 3 months, let's call it.
Yeah, I think it's been a huge effort. I mean, from my own point of view, I'm kind of a wee bit glad because I'm doing the predictions for like Predictify and Sorare, and it's actually easier to pick a midfield now. But it's been a huge effort. I mean, I think in the January window with Kyogo going, Jota coming in, which was great. But I think Brendan would ideally have wanted maybe another sort of forward player in there as well. I think Jeff Schlupp's been a great addition. Like, obviously it's early doors, and I'm not saying he's the world's best footballer or whatever, but he does give us that kind of bit of athleticism there that would sometimes we've been sort of lacking in the back line. So he's been a good signing, and obviously he's a guy who can kind of step forward a bit as well, and he's played a bit of midfield. So again, I'm not saying he's Xavi or Iniesta in the middle of the park, but he's obviously played midfield. So if he's to play inverted, then he's comfortable playing in that position as well. So he's been a good addition as well. We all turned our nose up at it because we were like, Kyle goes going, Brendan wants a star name type striker. We're looking at names like Kvaisgaarden. We're looking at other guys like maybe bringing in, and eventually we got Jeff Schlupp, and everybody's let's just get Jeff Schlupp. So, but it's been a huge effort, and I think that realistically we're going to go into qualifiers for the Champions League next season. So I think minimum 2 rounds or something. So you're going to have that. This season as well, there was no winter break. I think that was because like the sort of summer competition and everything last season, so there wasn't really enough time in the schedule to like start the season and then have a mid-season break and stuff. So it's been non-stop, whereas previous seasons you would get to like 3rd of January or whatever, you would have like 2 weeks off, then you have a cup game. Remember the season before, McGregor just got left out for the cup game, so like 3 weeks off. So none of that stuff's really sort of happened. So I'm like a huge effort, and still maintaining really high performance levels against particularly Bayern away, which was just actually shown that we were worthy of being at that level in the Champions League and stuff. It was great.
It was, and there's a lot of guys in the chat kind of echoing the sentiment that we've got going on here at the moment. I had a wee flick back there. The last international break was like the 18th of November, essentially that kind of weekend, which it's pretty much what we said there, November time, isn't it? So it's the thick end of 3 months going on 4 with the way things are at the moment. I was playing midweek this week coming into the weekend, and then after this it's weekends only until the split, and in the split there will be 1 midweek game. It's just the way it normally goes with the way the calendar lies and everything like that. But yeah, it's some slog, and part of the reason that kind of came back into the front of my mind, Brendan also mentioned it post-match against Aberdeen, but when you contextualize that over like the 1 game that we've lost that wasn't against Rangers to Hibs, and we didn't look that great against Aberdeen, but we kind of did as well, so there's been a few games like that, and when you add in that layer of what they've played, I don't even know how many matches at this point, 40, 50, it is some effort that has been going through, and it's certainly quite undersold. I think we've seen so much development as well, McBride, from like, I would maybe just stop short of saying every player in the squad, like just about. Like, I don't know if there's anyone, but maybe the exception of Ida, McGregor, just because McGregor's a different situation, obviously, in terms of career development. And maybe Schmeichel's hard to contextualise that because it's his first season here. But genuinely, I think every player has got markedly better. The talisman of all of that, of course, is now everyone's favourite shout for Player of the Year. Dyson Maeda, 2 goals against Aberdeen, of course, as well. And, we've been big fans of Dyson on this channel. This has been one of the strongholds of Dyson Maeda as a great player, what you're all complaining about for the last, how long's he been here? 3 or 4 years. So it's great to see it's clicking into gear. And, a lot of people are saying McBride is like, he's eliminated stuff out of his game, like the crap crosses or the panicking in front of goal or whatever. But can it not just be that he's got better? Like, he's needed time to improve. Like, he's still, how old is he? 26, 25? Like, he's been here for 4 years. He's kind of a young enough player in the grand scheme of things. It's not like Jota or Kuhn. Like, I'll finish this and I'll give it to you, right? But I was thinking about Yang in the same kind of context as well with Nicholas Kuhn. If you look at Kuhn, to, the point when it comes to Celtic in the years prior, like years in elite academies, in elite clubs, big facilities, lots of coaching apparatus around them. Kuhn is closer to the finished article upon arrival at Celtic than people like Dyson and Yang, who have been in the deep end playing for crap teams or teams in rural territories or whatever. And yeah, with Dyson, is it that he's eliminated stuff out of his game, or is this just what it looks like when people get better?
Yeah, I think he's 26, 27 now. So, but he came to Celtic when he was 24. He played in the J League, which we know through Sorare, and there's actually a lot of good players. Guys like Matoma went on to play in the English Premier League and everything. Japan have got like a really quite exciting national team at the moment. They've got like talent all over the shop. I think, like, actually from Maeda's point of view, I think the reason why he's improved is because he works tremendously hard. And like what I mean from that point of view is, like, he's always done all that stuff where he's running about and he's Mr. Energy and he's pressing people and he's trying his best. But if you imagine, there's some players in their career who've had like bundles of talent, but they haven't really developed into the players that people thought they were going to be because they thought this guy's really exciting. Remember we had like Charlie Musonda on loan and everybody was talking about Charlie Musonda in England. They paid a big loan fee and he looked amazing. He was like great touches. Just went nowhere in football. Just obviously either didn't develop or didn't have the right attitude. Whereas Dyson Maeda is the type of guy who's going to go in there like every single day. He's going to be giving it everything. If Brendan Rodgers says do this, he's going to do it. It's going to be like far more organised than the kids play practice on a Saturday afternoon. Like, it's going to be like elite coaching or whatever. And like he's just going to be actually like developing, listening, trying his best. And like I think that you're right, like he's improved. Like, people gave him a lot of stick. We gave him stick sometimes as well, so he couldn't play against low blocks, all that type of stuff. But when he came to Celtic, he used to play as a striker, played through the middle, and he played for Japan still through the middle. We decided we were going to play him a wee bit further wide. He would try and beat a guy and he'd hit the ball into Rose Ed. But at no point in his career had he been playing in a fashion where he had to learn what to do when he'd actually beat a guy and he was down wide, because he was playing through the middle, scoring hat-tricks and stuff in the J League by just destroying teams right through the middle and stuff like that for Yokohama Mariners. So yeah, I definitely think he has developed. I wish he'd calm down a wee bit because I'm a bit worried about whether or not we're going to be getting some big bids in. Like that's the flip side of it. Like he's just doing so well, like even in the Champions League and everything. And you look at him and you just think like he's given something that you don't see a lot of strikers doing across other clubs. And at some point, somebody's going to say like, yeah, I mean, this guy's going to run about like until he's whatever age, and it would be worth spending some money on him. But that's a natural consequence of Celtic like actually doing well and being seen as a well-oiled Champions League team. And I remember Company's comments were really telling. He was talking about how Celtic were an exciting football project and they were an exciting club and it was a brilliant atmosphere, but how they were doing things where they were buying young players and selling them on, and it was a really good overall project. So we always get caught up in the biscuit tin and the Lobel, and we'd like to spend this and we've overspent in this guy, or we're getting dragged over the coals because we've not organised the guy in. But from the outside, people are looking at us and going, look at how well they're doing. So it's nice to have that sense of kind of overall perspective on things. And I think Yang's, there's definitely a player in there, whether or not he'll end up being as good as a Maeda or a Kuhn or whatever, who knows. But like there's definitely as a player in there. He's shown that recently, and even coming on and doing the Champions League games, there's a player there. So
yeah. I'm not quite ready to go on to Yang, but I love that you're trying to set us up for the Yang Gang as well, because this is where the headquarters is based. Yang Gang started on Celtic here, and I won't hear it any other way. So it's great to see it's hit the mainstream Celtic fandom now, which is lovely. But we've been saying it on this stream, on this channel for a while, when we're talking about like players that might be sold, but for better or for worse, guys that we just think are highly valuable, or guys that might want out and all the rest of it. And that's the one thing consistently we've said about Dyson, is he is going to be popping up on scouting radars all over the world, or all over Europe's probably the most pertinent part of that, because of all of his metrics. But the lack of decisives, the lack of assists and goals to match that would always kind of put him down the pecking order. And it's funny as well, because as I'm talking about this, I'm getting flashbacks to maybe last summer or the summer before, chatting about how I don't imagine interest comes in for Itati. I didn't imagine interest coming in for Jota, and that was kind of weird at the time anyway. I don't think that was the rule, more of the exception kind of thing. But guys like Kyogo, again, if it feels like he really forced this transfer, doesn't really feel that it was genuine interest. And when you look at the squad, there is only a few, because what you need to think about as well, this is kind of wider to everyone out there, when you're thinking about who could leave Celtic or who could be sold for big money, whether we want them to be sold or not, is what do people spend the money on in terms of other clubs? They're, and Kyogo, the problem for him, for me, has always been his age, like compared to like other players and stuff like so many clubs. And you've seen it with when he did leave, going to Rennes. There's like an echelon of clubs that aren't going to buy a 29-year-old guy for Celtic, no matter what his stats are. They just won't do it, because it makes zero sense. They could just go and buy a guy for 18 that has the same promise for the same price, etc., etc. So when I've been looking at the squad and when we've been talking about it for the last couple of years, not many of our players have been obvious, like, oh, they're going to get lots of attention. But as it sits to now, like Dyson is primed for being scouted right now. Like, there's just no getting away from it. He's scoring Champions League goals, never mind he's got a huge track record of doing this for us. It's not like a one-off this season. It's just that, like someone said in the chat about Larson, it's just clicked for him now. It's just clicked into gear. Alistair Johnson's another one of those guys where it feels like he's got all the profile. He's got everything that anyone interested in a right back. He's going to come up on a list somewhere. Last season, it was clearly going to be Matt O'Reilly, because I always felt his homegrown status with England added a bit of transfer value to him as well. And we're seeing links for Kuhn. I'm not too convinced on them just yet. It feels a bit early doors for him, but it is getting to that stage now. Like, you set me off on this, where we might need to worry about Dyson. And part of the great thing about Dyson was he was the obvious replacement for Kyogo in the squad, because he can just do the same job. And it was like, hey, you don't need to go and find someone to do this. And replacing Dyson is going to be impossible or improbable. I'm going to say impossible.
I think he's such a madman that it's going to be virtually impossible. I think, like, to go and find somebody who does like what he does is just going to be really, really, really difficult. It's just quite unique, and we've got like hundreds of players and stuff in Sorare, and players in the MLS and Japan and K-League and like European leagues, and virtually from every angle of world football, and you don't see anybody really doing what Kuhn and Maeda is doing. And as you say, he's added like goals and assists and everything to it. So he's had that, that cup final against Rangers where he scored that goal, which is just all him. Chaos, knocks the ball, knocks it up in the air, but then he finishes it. Whereas previous seasons, he's probably bluttered it into the stand. He actually bluttered it into the net for once. He's just like, I just don't think you can replace him. I think you can replace him in a way where you replace his goals. You might be able to replace him by somebody who can press a bit, but you'll never get like everything that he's actually given us at the moment in a player for the type of money that we'll probably spend on a player. So what we might need to do is do something marginally different, get like a sort of Kavisgarden who probably stacks up data-wise, more similarities-wise to Kyogo, scores plenty of goals, playing in a league, reasonable league, one of the top talents in the league. They rate him quite highly. The talk was they wanted like 13, 14 million euros. They wanted like Engels money. So can't really blame them, right? I mean, the guy looks good. People know we've got money. People know we're a Champions League team. People know that we bring guys in and we can sell them on for more. So they're going to charge us. So yeah. But I mean, I think that the good thing is we did a lot of good business where we never gave them credit for it, because we hadn't brought in players, where we signed up a lot of the key guys on good sort of long-term contracts. So somebody comes along now, we're not in a situation where we've got somebody who's out of contract in 2026, they're on a couple of year contracts, and you can say, well, okay, you've got to name a price here, and if you come in with this huge price, then you can consider it. But I really don't think that that Brendan will really want to sell anybody like that. But he's just a sort of realism angle that over the course of last couple of seasons, there'll be one person, if a big bid comes in, will probably take it, and then that money all goes together and we try and improve the squad overall. And you can't get that 20-30 million type player guy in. You get a couple of guys in 7, 8, 9 million, and you improve the real overall quality of the squad or the options to play tactically. Because that's on a tangent, but what's really impressed me is like how well we actually played against Bayern Munich, where we showed a different side of our game. The Atlanta game drawn 0-0, not just gung-ho stupidity stuff, like tactical nous. And sometimes you need the players that are capable of playing that way as well, in terms of pressing, or Nicholas Kuhn going back and helping the fullback and stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be difficult, but somebody's going to have to come in with wads of cash, and that's a really good position to be in, isn't it?
I agree. I think there's a great question here from River Seat, and I'll put my cards on the table. I think the sort of teams that would be interested in Dyson Maeda are the creme de la creme, and they're probably not going to be interested in him starting too often. I think you're talking, and I'm being deadly serious with this, and we can go into the reasons why if anyone cares, but I'm looking at Real Madrid, Man City, Arsenal, Bayern Munich. Every one of them would pay proper money to have somebody like Maeda in their ranks, to come off the bench, to rotate for different matches, to play the wing, to play through the middle. All those teams have got real problems at centre forward. A lot of them love pressing. They love all that other stuff as well that goes alongside it. And if anyone below them in the food chain is interested in Dyson for the sort of money that we will be commanding, that'll set alarm bells off. The reason I put Bayern Munich in it above, I put them into it, is because we've played against them, and that's a real barometer on players. Normally, if the defenders and the goalkeeper, Neuers and Kimmich's are all saying that guy's a fucking whip, by the way, that means a lot. That's the only reason we signed Kyogo, because Ange asked his Japanese defenders, who's the hardest guy in the league to play against? And they said Kyogo. And he went, right, cool. Well, I'll sign him for Celtic, or maybe it was before he moved to Celtic. But in any case, the opinion of the players drove Ange to that purchase, And it will be mega, because he will be so hard to replace, and we will be able to command a massive fee. I really do hope, failing any of the sort of teams I've just mentioned there, I don't think Dyson has any rush to leave. He seems really happy in Glasgow. Like, it seems like he really likes Glasgow. If you watch his social media, his family seem very happy here. And, all the stuff that goes around it. He seems like he's not a flash guy. He's not like I'm sure he's after career progression. Like, if he could play a top team in the world, I'm sure he's not going to say no to that. But I don't think his motivation is, I need a big contract before I'm 30, or I need one more contract before I go home to Japan. So I would love him to Larsen up and finish Celtic being here for 7 years, 8 years, something like that. No problem at all. But it's just the way he's going. Dyson season is in full effect, and if he keeps kicking on as centre forward, especially in the derby, if they're going to be playing Tavernier at centre back, that he could just be right in the middle of the shop window with all the lights pointed at him.
Yeah, I think you made a great point about Bayern Munich. I mean, last I did see an article on that, and they were talking about his general energy levels, and kind of in my mind, like, rather than like EPL, etc., I was thinking a bit along the lines of like he would be perfectly suited to a sort of Bundesliga type league. You've seen guys going there before. Like
Leverkusen would work for him as well, I would say.
Yeah, Jeremy Frimpong obviously went to Leverkusen, done very well. He's always chatted about in these 30-40 million pound moves to Man United, and maybe like when Real Madrid were needing the right back, he was always talked about. He's done very well there, so I think that he'll definitely be on the radar from that point of view. But there are clubs that, Leverkusen like to get good value when they're purchasing somebody, if that makes sense. Yeah, so they want to feel as if they're still getting value, and maybe they buy a younger sort of profile, and then, as you say, it brings in those other teams. But James Kennedy said give Maeda a new contract now. He's had a reasonably long.
Just signed one.
Aye, but that doesn't mean that you can't recognise that improvement and say we're going to give you a rise. Look,
oh yeah, fair. I thought it was like out of fear of when's his contract up. Last year he signed one for 4 years.
Yeah, I think it'd be a case of, look, you're player of the season here. We're going to make sure I don't know where he is in the wage scale. That's just all speculation. It's confidential largely, but or should be. But he should be up there with, the top earners and everything there. Obviously, Jota's come back. He'll be on pretty good money. Kieran Tierney's coming in. He's come from an English Premier League club. He's taken a step down, but talk is he's going to be on something similar to what Cal McGregor's going to be on. We want to make sure that Maeda's up there. And like you say, I mean, obviously Kyogo said that he wanted to go. I don't think that was a good decision personally, but that's what he wanted to do. So if Maeda comes in at some point and says, I've won everything here, I have been really happy here, but actually, I want to move on for the later stage of my career and play somewhere else. Well, nobody can really complain about what he's given us, because he's given us everything, and he's a standout at the moment for Player of the Year, and that is given a lot of credit to him, because you've got guys there like Nicholas Kuhn, who's been brilliant this season. Engels has been brilliant this season, so good. Carter Vickers has been he's put his injury, touch wood, put his injury stuff behind him. He's been so solid, he's been amazing. Alistair Johnson's been brilliant. Schmeichel's been incredible. The clean sheets everywhere. You could come up with so many names for Player of the Year. The first name people think about at the moment is Maeda. So that just shows you how good a season he's really sort of having. So I really hope. I mean, it was quite hard seeing Kyogo going, to be honest, but you knew that it sort of made sense with his age, the amount of money, the rumours that he changed agencies and he wanted to go and all that sort of stuff. So that kind of made a bit more sense. But you feel as if Maeda's just hitting his prime. He's just right in his absolute prime.
I'm with you all the way. And Brown Warrior 119, echoing again. It's been a while since I've spoke about toxic Kyogo, because he's also been gone. But I really don't think Kyogo and Dyson like each other, or one of them doesn't like the other one. And me, McBride, probably better than anyone in this space. But the amount of times Kyogo has refused to pass to Dyson for a tap in was criminal. I don't think Dyson has any love lost for Kyogo, and he'll probably be quite chuffed he's got his job. And if Brown Warrior's comment turns into reality, I don't think Dyson will feel too bad about it, to be honest. And like I say, the guy did great for us. I don't think the move has worked out for him. He's got a shoulder injury. Who would have thought that would have happened, eh? Kyogo, putting off that surgery and all the rest of it. Sorry, I agreed, Quinny. I saw them both not congratulating each other. Yeah, it was weird. It was weird between those two. Some people, I think, kind of threw it out there. Maybe there was a bit of jealousy because Kyogo never got into the Japan squad and Dyson always did, or something like that. But Kyogo just never passed to anyone, especially Dyson, for a tap-in. And, it just boiled my piss so often that it's just scarred me now. And I won't forget it. But I think on this vein of Kuhn as well, it's kind of what I was saying earlier with the likes of Hatate and previously Jota, despite that he did get the move. It didn't feel like, for Kuhn and Hatate, it feels like Hatate's maybe just about there because he's had a decent Champions League, but I don't think Hatate is really pulling down trees where teams are going to be like, oh, we need to sign that guy Hatate. And it feels like Kuhn, for the plaudits and the praise he's had, is maybe having that little slump where anyone that was interested maybe just puts a bit of distance on it and just thinks, okay, well, let's just wait a bit longer and see if this guy is the real deal. Does he do it next year? Kind of vibe. I'll have 2 minutes, mate.
Yeah, no problem. I think with Nicholas Kuhn, it's an interesting one. He did very well against Leipzig, and I think the issue with that is obviously there was talk of him getting in the German national team as well. And it was actually from the German national manager as well. It wasn't just all sort of made up. Scored away against Bayern Munich. Scored at home against Bayern Munich as well. Obviously, it was chopped off. So I do agree. I think he's been a bit quieter recently, Nicholas Kuhn. Maybe just the amount of games doesn't really suit him. I think one of the real issues for Kuhn this season is these wee sort of niggly things. These sort of things with his back, or he's sort of missing this game. Even out, I think it was the Bayern Munich away game. He was he had a cramp. He had to come off with a cramp. So I think Nicholas Kuhn, maybe he's dropped off a wee bit, but I think he's just a sort of victim of the schedule and stuff that we've been on at the moment. It's probably an element of that. I'm looking at chat now because Quinny's had to run away now. Pat Mansey forgot Kieran Tierney at left back. Yeah, everybody's forgotten about that now, isn't it? Everybody's totally forgotten that we've signed Kieran Tierney. Michelle Kuhn is jealous of the Jota love. It could be that. I thought that Nicholas Kuhn, Jota, and Maeda like against Aberdeen were like really good. I mean, like Aberdeen were playing pretty well and they were getting up the pitch, but the thing was like that goal we scored on the counter attack was like absolutely amazing. Like really good goal. Jota did his best to scuff it and miss it, but he still managed to score. And Engels, obviously, bit of composure, playing the ball across as well was really good. I don't know if it's quite just as fair to say Kuhn's been totally off it. Like I think we've been playing some of the games, like the home game against Bayern Munich, he was playing quite defensively, so he was dropping in and helping Alistair Johnson. And you know, Celtic were obviously a bit worried about guys like Elise and Sane and things, which makes a lot of sense. So he was kind of been asked to do a different role there, I guess. But he's probably just needing a sort of more of a rotation just now. But Celtic have got Nicholas Kuhn, Ida, Maeda, and Jota, and it's a bit of a sort of bit of a difficult one in terms of who you're going to start at the moment, I guess. Adam Ida is always the guy that's kind of going to miss out at the moment because Dyson's been absolutely playing out his skin, isn't he? So, yeah, there's some nice problems to have, but hopefully if we can get another sort of recognised like top class striker in to replace Kyogo, then we'll definitely have some proper sort of problems. I'm just reading the chat here. McLaughlin bigger than Beyonce. Sorry, Patman, who's screaming? That's my 7-year-old. He gets this time at night and he turns into a bit of a maniac. Quinny has moved house. Yeah, it's not Quinny's son that's screaming. It's actually my son. Brown Warrior for me looked a bit pissed off at Jota. I don't know. I mean, like maybe it is that. I don't know. There can be an element of that. As Quinny was saying, like Maeda and Kyogo, that didn't really get on that well. I think with Kyogo, he was just a wee bit greedy sometimes. You know, like he had to be kind of shoved into the limelight and didn't want to do all the stuff at the end of the games and things. But I think once he got to the stage where he was getting the goals and the limelight and things, then he just maybe he just really enjoyed that. But it's a few times where he was just pretty focused on getting a shot on goal or whatever. He should have been sort of playing the ball sideways or whatever, and he was just like a striker. Like I want to score, I want to shoot. Michelle is a maniac like his dad. He's worse than me. He's definitely even bigger a maniac than me. So there we go. Quinny's disappeared. It's like, right. He did warn me, by the way. He did say that he would have to run away at some point. So that's fine. We'll go through the chat and stuff. Quite a grip. Ida works best when he's proven his position. When he's handed it to start, he's a bit nervous. Yeah, I think he does an interesting one. Like, played very well at Aston Villa. His goal record recently is pretty good. Thought he was pretty poor against Hibs. I mean, like, I don't know. People were even saying, was he a bit hungover or something, or did we have a few too many beers over in Germany? It could just be like speculation because Brendan said, right, yeah, we had a couple of beers, we trained the next day. That was a successful campaign overall, and then we get back to it. Yeah, he is only 23, Adam Ida. I think it's a bit like, it's not unfair, like, but he's not the same player as Furuhashi is as well. That's the big problem, right? He's, you know, he has got certain qualities. He's not as good maybe at the pressing. He's maybe not always as quick. He's just not really the same type of sort of player as Furuhashi. So when Kyogo was there, Kyogo and Ida were always sort of rotating, and Ida would play certain games, certain points. Kyogo was struggling to score away from home, so Ida played a lot of the away games. I remember the game where I think it was 5-0 or 6-0 we won, where we had to go and beat Kilmarnock to win the league. And he was brilliant. So there we go. That was longer than 2 minutes, Quinny.
I'm really sorry, mate. I'm really sorry.
I've just been getting through the chat. I've just been chatting away to the chat. My wee boy's been going mental in the background, and it's been great fun. Fantastic stuff.
Is it Yang Gang time then? We've done the Dysons.
Yeah, I will.
So I need to catch my breath. Sorry, I have to sprint back in here. But I was so pleased, so pleased with his goal. I said in my breakdown, it is the epitome of grabbing the game by the scruff of the neck. Now, granted, he didn't need to grab the game by the scruff of the neck. Granted, we were already winning. It was a later stage of the game and all the rest of it, but that is proper progression we've seen from Yang. You know, I was on here not too long ago talking about how with a disallowed goal, if it stood maybe an OG, if it didn't get counted as an OG, that little run of form or that little run of appearances he's had, you just put a little bit more goal contributions into it, and it looks totally different quite quickly. You know, when he's getting these minutes and having nothing to really show for it, it's really easy to beat him over the head with that. But for both the goals, sorry, I'm still catching my breath. For both the goals, like, that's the thing I've always said about Yang. What he brings is great, and the things he doesn't have, he can learn, he can develop, he can be taught. Contrary to Palma, who's always like the other side of the Yang coin whenever you're speaking about these guys at Celtic, what he didn't have, I just never seen him getting, you know. And let's see in the fullness of time what Palma ends up doing in his career. I don't suppose it'll be much more than what I've kind of suspected, but guys need minutes. Guys need time to play. And I think Yang is showing he could be the second winger off the bench, the way things are going at the moment. He's never going to be a first team player for us, but let's call a spade a spade. If Yang's at the club for another year and a half and he needs to play 20 minutes, 30 minutes of quite an important game, the way he's going, I'm not too bothered about that.
Yeah, I think that's okay. I mean, like, he's done well in Champions League games and everything, right? So it's not just a case of, like, I think there's an expectation in our sport that you're on the ball, and if you're playing against a team in Scotland, that these guys should be able to come in and make some sort of impact. But I thought he was really good when he came on against Bayern Munich at home in the Champions League, and you know he's done more than just the sort of basics. He's adding some goals and assists. And I think with that spell where who was it? I think was it pre-signing Jota or whatever, or Kuhn was out. He started. Was it Ross County away or whatever, where he did pretty well. So yeah, I mean, I think he's actually putting something together. My big problem with a lot of what we do at Celtic sometimes is, like, we buy guys, like, look at Tomoke Awata, right? He's went down, okay, Birmingham and like League One, but they're going to get up to the Championship, and he's scored a great goal in the Cup, and he's getting rave reviews and all that sort of stuff.
Scored a few bangers, by the way. He's on about 3 or 4.
And he was a good foil, I think, for Callum McGregor. The problem is, you play in that position, you're never getting a game. Celtic never rotate Callum McGregor. Like, you just run the legs right off a guy and just, like, he's captain, we'll just roll him out again next weekend. Like, all right, Champions League guys are running past. He's captain, we'll just leave him on. So it's a bit unfair on him because he's got that influence. But we get guys, and obviously you've got Yang, and you know he doesn't always get games. That's the problem, right? So you don't want to have a squad that's absolutely huge and just have all those options and have guys sitting there just doing nothing. Look at Odin Holm, had to go to LA and stuff. Although he's I don't think he's got a game for LA yet. It's early on the season, MLS, but doesn't look as if he's going to be like a first choice guy there either. So
MLS are reporting he's injured at the moment.
All right, again. Like,
it's the same injury we had him down as having, a thigh injury or something. But when you look at their squad reports, he's down as injured.
Yeah, I guess that would kind of make sense. I mean, I think at one point people were kind of saying, "Were we making that up? Was it just out of favour? Was there an issue or whatever?" But they were just injured. You know, players get injured and stuff like that. So, that's fine. But my overall point regarding the squad is that we get these guys like Yang in. I'd rather see we had some sort of pathway for them. So, like, we go and we buy Yang. If we don't need that guy in the first team squad because we've added Jota, we managed to keep Kuhn and Maeda. We've got, like, you know, good quality wingers. Maybe we even go and spend another 6 or 7 million bringing in another sort of winger as well. Get Yang a good team for a loan or whatever, you know, just like get him somewhere where he's going to get like 30 games where he's going to actually like develop in a first team. It's not quite the same level, but he is playing at a good level now in the English Premier League. You remember Ryan Christie? So yeah. Ryan Christie went on loan to Aberdeen, I think it was, And then when he came back from Aberdeen, he went straight into the Celtic team. And when he came to Celtic, he didn't look as if he was kind of ready to play in the Celtic team. And he went away there, got his experience, came back, he did well. Eventually moved on. People weren't really that disappointed about it. Now he's playing for Bournemouth. It's Bournemouth, what is it? Yeah. In the English Premier League. And Bournemouth are really good. It's like they're doing really well. They're like up like the top 7 or 8. They're getting lots of good results and stuff like that, playing some good football. And he's like one of the main starters as well. So he's playing at an English Premier League level. So you can't knock that. Like that's playing at a really high level of football. And the point in that is he just went and got a loan, got some game time. So, maybe we need to do a bit more of that. Maybe bring some guys in and just say, look, you're not going to really be getting games in the team just now, but we'll find a way to make sure that you do get some games.
Yeah, because we've kind of fell out of a barrel of shite and smelling like roses in some way, because again, it's one of the positives we've tried to hang on to on this channel with the business we've did over the last few windows. But as we see across European football, the contemporaries, the other clubs that are like similar size to us or whatever, they have got a huge catalogue of players, just for lack of a better expression. Not all of them are in the squad. A lot of them go out on loan. And the big reasons for a lot of that for a lot of clubs isn't because they've got tons of wages to just start gifting out and their best mates with all their scouts, they sign all their players that get recommended to them, but they understand that they have to sell players. And yeah, like maybe our model is you sell O'Reilly, you sell Jota, you sell Edward, you sell this guy, that guy once a year, fine. But it's been really nice the last couple of windows. Selling Bernabe for a few bob, was even at the team, nobody even cared that he left. They didn't make any impact, Could Yang be a guy like that? Iwata, who you mentioned before, it didn't really work out financially in that sense. Palma, let's see what happens with him and one or two others. But when we were buying lots of guys in, as long as they're getting minutes and they're getting the chance, even Lagerbielke being a good example of this. Like Lagerbielke, we will make money on him if he keeps going the way he's going. Like no two ways about it. Maybe not initial fee because 20 aren't that rich. Maybe we'll need to wait for them to sell him on. But like for Celtic, we need to have more than just let's sell the biggest player. You need to have guys that are like Yang. They've been in the squad for 2 or 3 years. They've shown some glimpses. The guy's a good player, but listen, hey, there's just not enough room here for you, pal. Sell him for 6 million quid. Windfall, 2 or 3 Yangs a year, air quotes, or Bernabes, whatever you want to call them, that is the lever to making us a really strong team in the transfer market, because it's kind of how Man City have got away with it for a long time, because Man City never sell anyone for money. But they always sell 45 guys you've never heard of under the age of 23, and it amounts to 200 million quid. And then when they go into the transfer market, teams are only like, oh, hold on, you just sold O'Reilly for 35 million. So if you want Engels, it's 13. They kind of get that stealth approach of, oh, here's our bid for like 8 million. And they go, all right, well, that's fair. That's probably all you've got. Cheers. Let's accept that and move on. So guys like Yang, there needs to always be a spot for that kind of, like I've been calling it the underbelly of the squad recently, but those guys that are not James Forrest, are not Anthony Ralston, are not, the list goes on, of guys that you probably want to keep at the club for character, for personality of the team, keeping the tradition going, keeping the standards high within the changing room. There is going to be guys that come in and out. Not all of them will be first teamers, not all of them will be stars, but we need a space where some of them can develop to the extent Yang has. And then you go, all right, well, what do we spend on Yang? 2 million? Let's sell him for 5. Let's sell him for 4. Off he goes to Belgium. Like, as well, another guy that falls into this category. So I think Yang, he's never going to be a best 11 player, but he's like, really, what more could you want from him ultimately at this stage? He's 22, he's been here since he was 20, probably just about grasping English now at this point. That's not a slight on him or anything like that. By all accounts, I think Dyson's English is one of the things people are crediting his recent uptick with. His English has maybe come on a level or something, and his chemistry with the squad has maybe improved ever so slightly off the back of it. But I think, yeah, like Yang, like I've been giving him as long a leash as he's needed, and I'm really glad, because it feels like Brendan's maybe done somewhat similar, and he's going to repay us back in one way, shape, or form now, I think.
I mean, obviously we've been hoarding a lot of money recently, but we have like committed to spending money on like the training facilities and everything. So maybe that's part of that. We've been quite critical of guys coming through, like Ben Doak and Vata coming through and everything. We've not been able to actually hold on to them. They've not seen or been happy with this sort of pathway or whatever in the team. But I guess there's an overall thing there, right? Like I remember watching a program years ago, but Bayern Munich like facilities and stuff like that, and Bayern Munich are a very well run club, but it's like the best facilities in Germany, so like just incredible, like, and everybody viewed that as like, yeah, we want to go to Bayern Munich. It's obviously a lot of tradition, history and everything there, but they've obviously taken their position. They've invested quite heavily in making sure their infrastructure and their standards are quite high. And Celtic Park's looking magic now. Celtic Way, the stadium, all that's all looking pretty good. So, once you get the training facilities and everything, the world class sort of right up to speed facilities, then that helps you as well, because it's not just you're bringing Engels here or whatever and you convincing him to come along and play in Scotland. And that was a coup, by the way, like, bringing him from the Bundesliga. All right, like Augsburg are not like amazing, and people would say, why were people in the Bundesliga not interested in him? But like Celtic have done a good number there, because like we've got a guy who I think suits the way that Brendan Rodgers kind of wants to play. He's not Matt O'Reilly, doesn't play in the same way as Matt O'Reilly, but he's shown now he's in a really good season. He put in some shift against Bayern Munich in those two games. He was excellent away from home, so it was really integral to the way we played in that game. But now he's backing it up by playing really well against Aberdeen and all that sort of stuff. It's not like I'll have one game, have 3 bad games. He's putting in loads of consistent sort of games. So when you're bringing in young guys like that, the environment you're bringing them in is really important. And okay, we've not went ballistic in terms of spending in the market and everything, but commitment to spending a lot of money on the facilities for the club, something that I'm quite pleased about. It's not like we're just hoarding money, we're actually reinvesting it in the club. So
I'm with you all the way on that. McLaughlin P brings up a point that Guetta Grip, which is a name I love in the chat, reckons is a good point. I thought I'd pop it on screen here. And I don't know if I buy into this. I think if Ange gets bagged from Tottenham, who in the UK is giving him another job? And then when you take that out of the equation, like, he's not getting a job in Spain, he's not going to get a job in Italy or France or Germany, for that matter. So, like, I think if Ange is done with Spurs, or when Spurs are done with Ange, like, I don't really know where he goes from there career-wise, sadly for him, just because of the whole image of the whole Tottenham thing with Ange. I don't think it paints him in a particularly good light if he fails. He needs to succeed with everything he's been kind of, everything the English media have been putting, I wouldn't say they've put words in his mouth, but they've painted him into a corner with this whole, you normally win stuff in your second season stuff, and then they've turned it into, I am telling you I will win something in my second season, and all the narrative that's went around it. So I get the sentiment. I would be more worried that, hey, he stays at Tottenham and he just goes, fuck it, I've given Celtic enough grace. Because he gave Yokohama grace before he signed him for us, And, so that I would be more worried that he stays at Tottenham rather than goes somewhere else and signs him first, personally. Yeah. But yeah, I think I agree with you on the last part of that as well. Like, the youth team is a big component of that, because all the guys you listed there, Cummings, Vata, Doak, imagine we never played them, right? But imagine all those guys rolled up into 20 million quid. That would have been just way better business, like just 20 million quid out of the academy. That's what you want. That's Aidan McGeady. That's Kieran Tierney. That's, something that you think the board licks their lips at, so it feels really like negligent that we're just letting them walk out the door for compensation.
Yeah. I think there's another issue with that as well, and it's going quite deep into what happens overall, but there was a whole sort of Brexit thing. And I remember speaking to somebody at the club at that point as well. And what happened was, Man United, for example, used to go and sign guys like Cesc Fabregas, like when they were 16 from Barcelona. You can't do that now. The Brexit rules mean you can't go and sign someone from Europe because you're not allowed to come in, work permits, ages, all that type of stuff. So I think there's more of a focus on our academies from down south. The point where obviously a big case with Chelsea getting Billy Gilmore from Rangers, and I think they had to pay like the transfer ban or something because there was money changing hands. He was only 15 or something. So we've got to realise that there is a sort of big brother down south, and yeah, they've just got loads more money from the TV and Sky and everything, and no matter what you say, if you look at like guys like Vata, even his dad, he was out on programs saying, I hope he listens to me, and I would say to him, just stay where he is and stuff. And agents turned his head, and it's like, yeah, go down there, you'll get more money down there. We don't care about Celtic, and that's what agents do. So we all have a problem with that, but like you can see now that we are trying. The lad Bonner, I think, come on during the week, and
Jude Bonner,
Dane Murray got some games recently. Brendan was speaking highly of him, some bad injuries, but looked pretty decent on the ball. Needs to develop, but it looks as if he's got a bit of ability. So I do think Celtic are trying, but that doesn't mean that the setup's right. You can be trying, and your coaching can be at the level of a kickabout in the field with Billy Dodds in the middle, who's usually a radio pundit. It's like you've got to get the whole setup right. We said we'd come back to a bit of the banter years, so aye, you know what I mean.
That was the one thing about the Masonic Street Preachers. I think I like listening to Billy Dodds talk about. I've heard him talk before somewhere, and I thought he knows what he's on about. But when I've seen that training clip, that evaporated. I'm like, all right, I got that wrong. But Neil McCann's a no bad listen either. I'm kind of going off to a wee bit of a tangent about how I don't think it was that terrible an appointment, but it is kind of YOLO at the moment. So kind of laugh out loud stuff. I've kind of went off on a wee spin here. Sorry. I was going to mention about Bonner, and I was listening to Axom earlier. They brought up an interesting point on what you're talking about there as well. In terms of they were talking about Daniel Cummings, and I think for all accounts, Paul John Dykes, who runs Axom, has maybe got some sort of in. He maybe knows a cousin or an auntie or something like that. And they were talking today about, I'll just repeat it, and apologies for anyone that was listening to Axom earlier, but Paul John said to JP, who was on with today, McBride, Daniel Cummings' contract is up at the end of the year. He can talk to other clubs as of the 1st of January. Celtic are widely aware of this. According to Paul John, I'll tell you the answer, but when do you think Celtic, according to Paul John's source, reached out to Daniel Cummings to discuss his new contract, if you were to guess?
2nd of January.
The day before the Aston Villa game, which was the 25th of January, which is just incredible, if you believe that. And apparently when he goes down to West Ham, he meets Potter, meets the first team manager, and he gets a roadmap. He gets a plan of what your development will be. You'll be in the B team for 6 months. We'll put you on loan to Ipswich for a year or fucking whatever it is. And that's the first time he's had any of that, apparently, compared to when he's been at Celtic. And you're talking there in terms of the sports science and the facilities that go into England, it is a science bringing through young players, making sure they grow as tall as they're going to grow, making sure they become as fast as they're going to, as strong as they're going to, because young players, as every human being in the world knows, is a huge growth stage for people, and it's all about how you eat, how you train, how you maximize your growth periods, never mind the planning and the implementation of it also. Yes, there's definitely some work to be done to caught up there, but it would have been nice if we could have even just sold a few of these guys and brought some cash in, is probably how I would finish that up. And on Jude Bonner, I watched him for the B team in Champions League action this season, and he was one of the players I was most impressed with by a long way. It wasn't because he was particularly eye-catching, but McManus played him centre mid a few times, played him left wing once, and the time he was playing left wing, he was doing the press in the front three. But as soon as we didn't have the ball, he became a centre mid, and then the centre mid became the left winger. It was really clever how we tried to stifle Leipzig in that match. And I was watching that, and Bonner, the whole game, positionally, against Leipzig youth, which is Ivy League youth football, if you like, didn't put a foot wrong, was never out of place, was all over the pitch. From left wing was his actual position, being off the ball in centre mid. And I've got a lot of hope in him compared to Daniel Cummings. Was probably the second most impressive young player I've seen in the B team. And I don't think he was any big shakes. I didn't really think that I was up to much when I seen him. And obviously, a wee bit of egg on my face. He's doing quite well in the Championship. But I was happy to see him get his debut, and hopefully we can now have both hands on the wheel with the youth development and run it properly. Guys, when they're getting to the age of some of the players we spoke about, then Ben Doak being the exception. See, by the time that they're 18, 19, they shouldn't be in that fucking B team. They should be on loan to Queen's Park. They should be on loan to Amir Wacker, on loan to St Johnstone, on loan to Kelly. We should be proactively right, you've played B team for a season, you're 19, get out of here and go get playing every week somewhere. And because, there's just no other answer for it. We spoke about it with Yang and one or two other players like Iwata in a roundabout way as well. There's just nothing beats minutes on the pitch.
Yeah. I mean, I feel a bit harsh saying it as well, but we look at guys like Stephen McManus, great guy, ex-players. I really like how Celtic looks to look after some guys who've played for the club before. a lot of those guys go on to prove themselves to be, really, really quite valuable. Those guys there, John Kennedy, etc., still doing a very good job for the club, etc. But like, there was that thing that was like Darren O'Day is going to be like the pathways manager or whatever. Like, I'd like to just to go down the Salzburg route and just say, right, we built this facility. What we should be deciding to do is know who's the best guy who's played for Celtic Football Club before to do that job, who's the best guy to do that job. Salzburg go and they recruit. And if they had, I remember they had a manager, right? This is a proper tangent, sorry. They had a manager and the guy came out and started doing stuff and they're like, yeah, fine, no bother. They sacked him. And see, like a week later, they had somebody else in to come in and do that job. Because people know that at Salzburg, it's like an elite setup. They don't have a great crop just now, but they have crops all over the place. They had Haaland at Salzburg, they had Szoboszlai at Salzburg, they had like so many like talented young players, and that is their setup. And what happens is they've got guys there who can develop young players. And if somebody moves on from there, somebody goes to Leipzig, somebody moves on, they bring in another guy who's got talent. Now, how does that apply to Celtic? Celtic got this big facility. You can't say, right, who are we going to sign? We're going to sign Neil Lennon. We're going to sign Alan Thompson. We're going to sign Darren O'Day. We're going to sign Shea Given. We're going to like get our phone book out. Like, who used to play for Celtic? Can you be a pathways manager? What's your qualifications? You used to play for Celtic. Yeah, right. You've got a job. Like, we need to get guys in who are good at doing those things. Good. We've got sports science and everything at the club. I think it's actually, I think to all intents and purposes, pretty good. Brendan Rodgers talked quite highly of it. I think that people slag the scouting setup, but I think the problems, a lot of the decisions made on the actual acquisition rather than the players that were scouting, because we've seen now we've brought lots of good players to the club. And then from that other end of things with youth development, that's a totally different thing. So hopefully we can be a bit more forward thinking with that and actually make sure we get the right talent in, and that decision's got to be based on who is the best person for that specific job to come in and develop young guys there. And it doesn't matter whether you've any previous connection to Celtic before or whatever. It's like, you're the best person for the job. Come in, run it that way, and then it might not even get immediate improvements. Youth setup wise, that could take years. We're talking about Kuhn and Maeda development at 27, right? Cummins could be an absolute out and out donkey. Like, with Celtic maybe weren't offering him a contract, didn't rate him, like, which might or might not be a good decision. Who knows? There's English interest in him, so it might be a bad decision, but could just be because he's not that highly rated, or it's just because we've got guys there who don't actually know what a good young player looks like, or aren't like qualified to kind of make the right decisions based on what you want to do. Give them more time, wait until they're 22 or 23, then make a decision on them, too young. So yeah, so there we go. That's my rant over about the youth setup, and apologise to anybody that's at the club that probably deserves to be there, that's been connected to the club before. But if we want to become this big Champions League club or whatever, we've got to be run like a proper setup, and that means we've probably got to do some stuff a bit differently. So
I've got no problem with opportunities for these guys, but like you say, McBride, it's about results. Like, are we seeing like what hate to bring his name up because it's not football related, but it's that Elon Musk thing. What did you do last week? Like it's that kind of thing. End of season reports or something. A wee bit of like, listen, whoever we're talking about, it's been great, but the last 2 years, nothing really much has came. We're going to go in a different direction. No shame, no harm. You can get a job with under 12s or I don't know, something else. If you want to keep hanging about on the payroll, there's probably somewhere you can squeeze these people in. I just want to come back before I come to Big Rob's point here. A few people chatting about the youth stuff and saying like money always talks and stuff like that. And I kind of agree and I kind of disagree all at the same time. It really depends, I think, like, because at the end of the day, like, if you're Ben Doak and you're getting offered, I'm just going to make up numbers, so I don't know what he's on at Liverpool, right? But let's imagine Liverpool are offering him $8,000 a week at 16, and we're offering him 1 or 1,500 or something like that. If he knows he's going to play for us, Celtic fans will back themselves. You know what I mean? Like, if they think they're going to get in the team, they're going to get in the minutes, and eventually, they, if they believe in their talent enough that they'll outgrow us, like, when they're young, I don't think it's as obvious as like, oh yeah, they're going to make the move. Like, yeah, law of averages, more often than not, maybe that is the way it shakes out. But I really do think that it is the package with players. We see so many players that leave big teams to just look at Matt O'Reilly. You know what I mean? Leaving Fulham, England Youth International to play MK Dons. That's much more of a trend nowadays. Is guys want minutes. Guys want to be on the pitch, and that's worth more than money to the ambitious ones, the ones that back themselves and have talent. So that in itself is a wee bit of a qualifier. If they are just all about the money, then I'm in Brendan's corner. See you later. Like, no bother. We'll catch you. We'll catch you back when you're coming to play Legends matches when you're 40 or something, after you've done a Gary Hooper for your career or whatever, So I don't totally go all the way with that. I think I think certain players, it's not going to turn their head every time. So we maybe need to be a bit more realistic. And when Ben Doak's getting offered $8,000, we just maybe go, right, fuck it. Can we give you 3? Like, we wouldn't normally do this, but we really believe in you. We really want you to stay. Maybe need a wee bit more of that as well. I just want to touch on what the little notes where I had for tonight, because we've touched on a lot of them, which is nice. I just want to make sure we don't miss anything. We'll come to the St Mirren prediction to finish off with, but before we get there, we've been talking a lot about progression, a lot about youth players. This all kind of ties in nicely, McBride. You'd think this was pre-scripted and organised, but we have
30 seconds before we went on, so it probably wasn't. No,
no. Well, we didn't need to tell anyone that, but there you go. You've seen the wizard behind the curtain. But I think a huge kind of poster child for this right now is Arne Engels. I found myself in the middle of the season being really confused about how have we scouted this guy? What does he do? What is he exceptional at? What is he what is his main strength? What is his identifiable qualities? And I think over the last 6 weeks, that has not been in question at all. It's been really clear to see. And again, is that he's got used to Scottish football? Is that he's got better because he's maybe not playing more. He is playing more games for us than he is for Augsburg, of course. But there he was playing in a really high level league. But it's like I came up with this analogy. I was thinking about it before on Arne Engels. I can't remember why. I was maybe listening to another podcast, but it's like, see, when you're at Augsburg, it's like working at McDonald's. If you're thinking about a restaurant setting, and it's like, how many good shifts does someone in McDonald's pull, a week? What is a good shift? What does a good shift look like? Do you need to be happy? Do you need to be quick? Do you need to be this? Do you need to be that? But if you go from McDonald's to a Michelin star restaurant in terms of serving people, the expectations are totally different. There is no, I had a bad shift tonight. I wasn't happy with customers, or I wasn't doing this, or I wasn't doing that. And, just because, he's came from the McDonald's situation, as it were, Augsburg, where he's clocking in every day, he's probably doing a good wee shift. Being a good server, or fucking whatever the analogy, fully evolves into, and that Michelin star situation is completely different. You might have still the ability to manage your time or fucking wrestle plates or whatever, but it's, I'm kind of going off the rails now a wee bit with the analogy, but it's the same job. It's the same job is my ultimate point here. It's the same job, but it's not the same job. You know what I mean? It's totally different in reality, but it's working in hospitality or working in a restaurant or whatever, I'll finish with that. Arne Engels, the last action hero, McBride, what we're thinking about him at this stage of the season?
Yeah, I think he's been excellent. I mean, you got to remember that he just turned 21 this season as well, so he's a young guy. I'll give you a totally different example, right? Mbappe moved to Real Madrid, and he was having a bit of a tough time of it, and people were saying, he wasn't doing very well, and Real Madrid couldn't play with him in the team, and he couldn't play there with Vinicius Junior. And eventually he kind of settled down, and recently he's just been absolutely banging him in. Now you're talking about a genuine world-class footballer, a guy who people would regard as being in the top 3 of the world in terms of football, and he's taken a bit of time to settle into Real Madrid. What we don't do is we don't let somebody come in, let them settle. They played 3 or 4 games, and people come out saying, he's a donkey, he's rubbish, he'll never make it. Why we spent £11 million on him? So, and we all do it. We're all guilty of that. I'm not slagging anybody. We all do it. Maeda's a donkey. Rosed can't cross a ball, can't play a low block. Sometimes guys develop later. They just need to settle in. So, I think it's quite exciting with Engels, because I think that he's really kind of adapted to it quite well. So what I mean from that is he came straight in, and when he takes a penalty and he runs up and he doesn't just blutter it. He's got composure, and he tries to look at where the goalkeeper's going, and he plays the ball the other way, and he looks as if he's kind of born for that stage, if that makes sense. So he handles it, and that's other stuff, he can improve at certain things, but he can't always teach guys like composure. You can't always teach guys to be how you handle those big games, Champions League nights, getting called up for Belgium, the Goldfish Bowl. You can't teach some guys that, and he just looks to me to just be a star from that point of view. Okay, there's rough edges in these games, there's parts that he'll need to improve, like maybe in terms of progressing the ball and stuff like that. But in terms of the stuff that we've been asking him to do recently, he's excelled at that, and he may well have improved in the first 6 months as well. But I think he's just really settled in and grown into the role in the team.
Yeah, big time. I think it's clear for anyone to see now. You know, like I think when he first signed, I was really happy to give him a lot of leash, a lot of latitude, because his numbers initially were pretty good, even though like the performances on the pitch didn't really grab the imagination too much. It's like, well, he's still, if he's only in second gear at the moment and he's still like knocking a few goals in and a few assists and being quite an important part for the team, then where does he go when he kicks into gear? Before having that stage where I was just lost. I was like, I don't really get it. I don't really see what does his final form look like, you know? And like I mentioned at the tip off of this segment, like there's just no doubt about it. He is everything you want. You know, if you're attacking, he'll spray the ball into space. He'll drive up the pitch. He'll gallop to be the third man arriving in the box. Like he'll get back. I don't think he's that great defensively. I hear a lot of people calling out for him to be like the defensive midfielder because he's a big guy and let McGregor run. I don't think he's that good defensively, where he's got that kind of that sense of danger and whatever. But he's no shy at getting stuck in. And against Bayern Munich, he's against Leon Goretzka, who is a borderline bodybuilder, if you've ever seen him with his tap-off. You know what I mean? Like, he's a absolute unit of a guy. So, yeah, I think that's exactly what he is. And it's not one of those ones where it's jack of all, master of none, but it's, like, well-rounded, you know, like, can do everything you would want him to. And I think the Brendan Rodgers midfield, a lot of you guys in the chat are talking about the next striker, but I think the Brendan Rodgers midfield evolves into three guys that look like Engels at some point. Now, maybe not three because McGregor will still be about somewhere, but that's the sort of guys that dominate the modern game, and Brendan Rodgers will want to support. We'll talk about what the next striker will be. I think it's an Kyogo and our Dyson type. I don't see him getting in our target man. But if you've got that kind of front line, you need bodyguards in midfield to stop the ball transitioning. You need guys that will get their hands dirty. You need guys that will go all over the pitch and do what's needed. And that was the most impressive thing I thought about the Aberdeen match, is normally when Hitate's playing, Hitate's on the left of the midfield and Engels is on the right, and they kind of live on their own side of the pitch, and we all kind of know what they do. And when Engels plays with McKibben, it's the other way around, and there's different things that happen. But seeing the Aberdeen game, Engels was on every side of the pitch, everywhere. Like, it didn't matter that Hitate was on the left. Engels was on the left as well, and they were doubling up and interlinking with each other. It didn't matter defensively, or even on the defensive side, he would be next to McGregor on McGregor's left shoulder. He'd be on the right as well. He was just everywhere, and it just felt like that game for me, as well as the last couple of weeks. Like, if you were ever in doubt about what this guy brings to the table, then you're not anymore. That's kind of how I feel about it. Ultimately, I think the guy's an absolute winner, and if we got him for anything under £6 million, we'd all be saying it could be buy of the year or buy of the decade or whatever, because even for the fee we paid for him, we're going to double or treble our money on him the way things are going, Yeah,
because he's only just turned 21, so he's got plenty of sort of resale value, career, trajectory, all that type of stuff. But I think back to a game, you remember we drew with Bruges, and people were like, oh, maybe we should have beat Bruges at home. And then you look at Bruges now, and they just went and scudded Atalanta, and you're like, oh, hang on a minute. They're still in the Champions League, we're not. But Bruges, for that sort of relevancy, the guy like Onyedika and Jashari, and then they had Vanaken obviously doing a certain tactical job going on McGregor, and they had like a guy in midfield there who thought like he would be really good for us. I mean, I still wouldn't rule out like if you brought in like an Onyedika or a Wanyama type to sit and then play McGregor in there with Engels, whether or not, because Cal McGregor scored loads of goals this season. He had a bit of a nosebleed against Bayern Munich away when in front of a goal, and then it's like, but he's contributing goals from outside the box. And he did used to do that when he was younger as well. So you've said many a time you don't think he's a defensive midfielder. What he does in there is he controls the tempo of the possession in the game, which suits us. Obviously, when we've got the ball, we're playing Scotland. But some of the games in Europe where we don't have the ball, it doesn't suit him at all, because he's not a type of guy who's going to press or get the get a foot in. That makes sense. Not a defensive midfielder, so it would be good to have somebody in there maybe from that angle. But Engels ultimately, I think, is a bit box to box, but his best stuff's going forward. He's got a good range of passing. He can do the other stuff as well. I think that's all we need him to do. You don't need any more than that, like, because his best stuff's going forward, and then you look to complement that. And I think Hatate's a good complement to that. But my frustration with Hatate is that Lou's really good at progressing the ball, and his stats are pretty good for that. He just gets through spells where he just feels like he can't pass the ball to his own teammate, and like he's probably he makes the riskier passes or tries to break the lines or whatever. But through some games, you just feel as if you're like how can you be playing this badly? We know you're good. But I don't think he'll be a guy where the big money will come in for him. Let's see. But if he comes in and does a KO go and says, right, I want to move on, or what he's talked before, I think he said something about moving to a bigger league. So maybe he'll just have a desire to move on, and then we'll have to do what you're saying. We bring in the profile we want or whatever, and we move on from there.
That's where everyone starts to mention Lennon Miller. And the last reports we had for Lennon is he doesn't want to come to Celtic. He wants to go abroad, kind of thing. So I'm not really getting too excited about the thought of Lennon Miller, unless, like, I think Hatate would need to leave for him to reconsider, because he'll want to play for us. He won't want to be Luke McKibben. Like, look at Luke McKibben this year. Do you think Lennon Miller wants to do that? No. So I think Hatate would need to go to open that door personally. And yeah. Also, I just wanted to bring this up before we move away from this, but I do also think that's one of the big reasons Iwata left, because Iwata's tiny. I know, much as he's a tank and he does that job well. And I've been so surprised this year at how often Brendan has played McGregor, McCowan, and Hatate, because the three of them are tiny, And I always felt that was what held Iwata back, especially when Rodgers came in. It's just that he's tiny, and like, you're not going to play McGregor, Iwata, and Hatate in the midfield at that point, So yeah, just a little kind of side thing there. But on this show, McBride, one of our favourite things to do is put on Brendan's Tom Fords. We slip ourselves into Brendan Rodgers' shoes. We don't pretend to be the manager. We are the manager. We decide what the team is going to be for the weekend. We do our best to do a wee prediction for it and go through the squad and go through the runners and riders who could be showing up for us. Now, this is our last weekend match off the back of having some midweek action. So there is still maybe a little bit of jeopardy for rotation. But one of the things, especially when it comes to Sorare fantasy football, that I was really excited about Brendan coming back is Brendan has always been a best 11 manager. He's a guy that knows his best team and will play it a lot of the time. Very minimal rotations unless required. So I think we'll get back to that probably quite quickly. And maybe we'll still see the likes of Bonner and some other guys like bled in from the bench or whatever. But St Mirren away, they've also just got a good result against them recently. St Mirren always do well against us. They've had that manager Robinson in there now for a fair few years, doing a good job. So I don't think anyone will take this game lightly. This is the board we've got up for the game at the weekend, McBride. Coming into it, anything you want to start us off on?
This will be a boring segment. I would just put the same team out again. So
yeah, I think so.
That's what I would do. I mean, like you hit the nail on the head. We've had a huge amount of fixtures, huge amount of big games. One thing that's going to happen soon is the fixture list eases a wee bit. I know that after the split, you usually have like a midweek game. Obviously, we're still in the cup competition, but we're out of Europe now. Realistically, the league is not going to go the distance. We should have the league wrapped up by round about the split. So I would just literally just put the same team out again. I would say that the one position I'm most questionable on is probably Trusty, because I don't feel as if he's had much of a rest. And I think that he might struggle against that physical presence up front. And he might just make a decision to say, we'll play Scales, just because maybe you feel as if he could maybe handle that a bit more, just to give Trusty a rest. And it's no, but what was the game Trusty played and he got out muscled, and you seen Rodgers going, it was weak as, and you get lip bread, as weak as that type of thing. So St Mirren carry a sort of big sort of physical presence and everything up front. Is it Olasanya, the guy's name is?
Yeah. So
he'll give us a tough game, I think. So I don't think Taylor will be back in. I think he's in the middle of having a baby. Well, not personally. Schlupp's been good. CCV looks in rhythm. Alistair Johnson. I looked at the Sorare stuff. Alistair Johnson has smashed it against St Mirren 2 times in a row. He said 186 out of 100, just by the way they play. So initially I was thinking, I'll just go CCV, but Johnson's been good. Midfield-wise, I guess you could bring McCown back in, but I just go with the same three, because I think after this game, Saturday night game, and then you've got a week break, so you've actually got a free midweek where you can a wee bit more breathing room, and then I think it's I don't know if we're going right into cup action then. I know the Hibs game's in 9th of March or something, so don't know how the dates stack up, but we've actually got a free midweek, which gives us a bit more time for recovery, planning, whatever you want to do, flying to Bayern and getting a few beers, whatever.
I agree with you on the left back thing. I actually thought Schlupp was pretty pish against Aberdeen, to be honest with you. I really don't think he did anything. He was in the box a few times, just overloading. Didn't get one cross away. Didn't break down the line as an overlap. He came into midfield a wee bit, and that's a wee bit of, he's been a bit ring rusty. He's getting acclimatized to the league and the team and all that and whatever. I get it, but I do think he's probably just in now, isn't he? For this one, and I said in my breakdown of the last video, I'm not going to mention his name on the preview because you've been giving me pelters for it, and now the comment section is doing it, where I've been saying that he's going to come in for Trusty, and I won't say his name, and he hasn't for about 2 months. So again, I feel like it's been on the cards forever, but if he's not done it by now, he's not going to do it to St Mirren away after the result they've just had against Rangers. He's surely just going to try and keep that cohesion between Trusty and Vickers. But I think the team is crying out for the Ginger Maldini to return. But yeah, I don't really see it happening. To be honest with you, I think maybe after this game we could see him maybe get some minutes and finish the season on a bit of a high. And Guetta, you should see my breakdown. Scales is not at fault for that goal. I promise you. And I know I'm a big Scales stan or a fan or whatever, but I'm telling you, he was not at fault for that goal. Very rusty, could have done better, but he's not at fault for it for me personally. But yeah, I think the back four picks itself in that sense. And with the midfield, it's interesting you say go with the same three again, because I found it interesting. You were looking at Alistair Johnson. I've been looking at a lot at Engels and his tail of the tape. This is the longest run of starts Engels has been on. I don't think he's shown any signs of slowing down, but we have seen the manager play Hatate, McCowan, McGregor as a midfield three away from home, I might add as well, on occasion. So I wouldn't completely rule out a wacky midfield kind of rotation, although I do agree it's unlikely, but just wanted to throw that out there. Bonner, do we expect him to get minutes in a match like this? Not unless it's comfy.
I think what he'll do is he'll try and get the League One, and then once it gets to the point where you've played the Glasgow Derby, you've played the quarter-final against Hibs, you look at that and the League's won. If when the League's won, you can play however you want, really. Maybe with the exception of the Rangers game, because I think that will be at Ibrox. But you can do what you want. What you've got to do is you've got to keep some sort of momentum, because hopefully you're still in the latter stages of the Scottish Cup. But you can rotate later on. You might saying that Bernardo's still a couple of weeks away, so that's been a bit of a blow in terms of rotating in midfield. So I get your theory there. You might see the one come out again, because we only really have Luke McCown as the other option. Maybe he does give Bonner a game. I wouldn't mind it personally, but I think that actually still looks as if he wants to go and get the points on the board and then do the other stuff.
And we've had our first ever super chat on the channel. So thanks very much, John Ford, for, I think they're Canadian dollars. Thank you very much. It goes a long way to supporting the channel. Really appreciate that. And I'm getting a lot of banter back for saying he's been ring rusty. It's a boxing, or I heard it in wrestling, but it's probably a boxing expression. And the Glaswegian comedy bone is definitely firmly in the live chat tonight. With some of the responses I've had to the old ring rust. But thanks again, John, for the super chat. It means a lot to us, mate. And I hope you've been enjoying the stream tonight. But yeah, I think McCowan's probably the only one that comes in with a shot. I think he will just go back to that. And then if we can get the job done, we rotate and turn things around. Because Brendan, again, like I mentioned, is a best 11 guy, but he's also a deep end guy. If he's going to make you sing, he's going to give you the chance to sink or swim. Until you sink, you're going to be swimming, So I think I can see Engels and Hatate just keep them at the coalface, keep them playing, keep them going at it. I do think, but there's an interesting point for the front three coming into this. I don't think Yang's going to start. I think we'll see him feature. There was a game or two where Yang wasn't featuring, and I think this little progression he's had in the last match or so probably changes that. We'll probably see Yang feature now in every game off the bench going forward. I've deleted Ida by mistake here, but I didn't mean to keep Kenny in his place. But like you say, the physical thing away from home, Jota and Kuhn have been kind of like on and off. One of the really interesting things about the Hibs game, or no, the Aberdeen game, I beg your pardon, is we actually seen them properly swap sides for a section of the match, and we've not seen Kuhn swap sides ever. Is that because he really doesn't want Maeda on the right? I don't know. I always kind of assumed it was Kuhn just loves being on the right, so why bother it? But we're seeing a lot of variation and a bit of rotation up there. Does that maybe open up for Ida to come back into start? Or do we think he keeps Dyson through the middle and keeps the same guys out wide?
It's interesting the way I think St Mirren at Paisley, they'll probably come on to us and they'll try to get up there, and that leaves the counter attack. I don't see how you can leave Dyson Maeda out at the moment. The guy's buzzing. I would just keep playing him. That's what I would do. I just keep playing him and then just keep him running and then just keep playing him. And we'll keep running. He'll be at the end of the season, he'll still want to run it, but we finished now? I'm away for a run. Just keep playing him. That's what I would do. I mean, Ida, you don't want to do his confidence in or whatever. And obviously, you do have to give him games at some point. So I would understand why he might bring him in. But if he does, he'll probably move Dyson out to one of the wing positions and maybe Jota or Kuhn will start on the bench and then come on for 30 minutes. There's been a bit of a pattern with Jota where he starts game, plays 60, and then he doesn't start the next game or whatever. And it's obviously that build up of the fitness and everything that he needs because he had an injury and he wasn't really playing a lot even when he wasn't injured for the last year and a half. So I think he needs to be built back up. So you wouldn't really have any surprise seeing maybe Dyson, Ida and Kuhn or whatever, some of that combination with Jota coming off the bench. But yeah, I think Maeda's just got to play, and it's it's kind of a similar situation to Cal McGregor. You just think he's just going to play. That's the way I feel about it. It's some way he's just going to start because he's just been so good and he's so crucial to the team. So
I'm with you. I think that is that Dyson's playing. It's just a matter of where, isn't it? And the Jota thing, I never really looked at it in that much detail. So I think you might be onto something there in terms of his build-up of minutes again. So that could be an easy rotation for the manager to keep Ida onside, to stop Jota from breaking and still attack St Mirren with a real strong lineup, So yeah, I find that is maybe a little element. I might want to just have a wee peek at that quickly just now in terms of Jota and his minutes we've seen so far. So just bear with me while I swap screens. It's the only thing I don't like about the system, that changing screen share is a nightmare compared to our systems. It's just not as easy. But if we have a look at his scores, his performances so far. So yeah, signed, off the bench, start, off the bench, start. And that was weekend to midweek with Bayern, extenuating circumstances. And then weekend against Hibs, midweek against Aberdeen. Yeah, I could maybe see him going to the bench.
Yeah, possible. I think maybe he's ready to start now, but you see minutes wise, he's only doing the 60. He's not played a full game yet, so he might just start and play 60 again just to be protected. I would start Jota personally. I would go Jota, Maeda, and Kuhn and try and get a couple of goals. I think we won 3-0 at Paisley the last time. So it is a tough game. They're a good team, but Celtic are a better level of good team. Let's face it, right?
Yeah.
We're a better level of good team. So I think if we focus on going do our stuff, try and start a bit quicker, whatever, you'll get a rest later, you've got to be up for this, that type of stuff, and then you go for there. So
I would agree with what you've said there. I also think, thinking about it, there's another kind of there's two other little dimensions that have just come into my mind with this. What I mentioned there with Kuhn and Jota swapping sides, Brendan Rodgers definitely wants these three guys to be on the same page, to be totally linked up with each other come the derby and come any important cup matches. That's the most important thing for us now, and I think he'll probably keep them in. The second thing I was going to say on that is obviously St Mirren just beat Rangers. So if we go and hammer St Mirren, Rodgers will be grinning from ear to ear afterwards, if we really do a number on them, which isn't to be disrespectful. St Mirren has been, for me, over the last 3 seasons, they've been in our top 3 hardest matches probably for the last 2 or 3 seasons in a row, whether that be, I don't think they've ever done well at Celtic Park, but normally when we go away, there's always one time we play them away where it's like shaky. Maybe they take the lead, maybe it's a tight scoring match or something like that. So no, I think I'm on side with you where he keeps the same team and we maybe see rotations at 60. Patman 67, by the way, you've got a heart of gold, my man. He's had a £10 super chat, so thanks very much. And that's his penance for his feeble jokes he's telling us. But Patman and the rest of the chat, by the way, has been on flames today. The patter has been electric. The jokes have been is quick. And normally there's a delay for me saying something, it going down the microphone, down the wire, into the internet, into your phone, and into your earphones. But as soon as I'm saying stuff, the jokes are coming back in the live chat. They are like tapped into the internet here. It's been crazy, lightning fast, and I love to see it. If you have been enjoying the show when you've been live or after we've been live, please do hit the like button. The super chats are amazing, and we're very, very grateful for it. But hitting the like button is free of charge, and it really does make a huge difference to helping the channel grow. Thank you very much, Patman. Thanks very much to John from earlier as well. His Canadian dollars. It's very much appreciated, guys. It really does warm the heart. So thank you very much. And yeah, I think this will be the projected team that we'll be going with. We normally like to end with a score prediction and a man of the match shout. I think considering the Rangers result, St Mirren are tough. I think it will be tight. I don't think there's going to be like more than 3 goals in it. So what I mean by that is I don't think it's going to be like 4-0, 5-1 or anything like that. I think this could be like 3-1, 2-0, kind of feeling around something like that. I think 3 feels like the sort of amount of goals we're likely to get in a match like this. And I really want the clean sheets. I'm going to say we're going to win this 3-0.
Yeah, I'll go 2-0. Actually, we conceded a wee bit recently, but probably that one that went in against Schmeichel is kind of the only place it could have went in. Bit of fortune with it. I'd go for 2-0. I think we will win. We'll move on to the cup, etc. So yeah, sounds reasonable.
And I think if I was to give a man of the match shout, and it doesn't need to be the guy that wins man of the match, right? But who do we leave the game talking about? Like, oh, he was on it today, or what a performance from him. I think I would have to go safe and just go with man of the moment, Dyson.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I'm going to go for Alistair Johnston.
AJ, lovely shout. Yeah.
I just honestly, it's just in my mind. Like, I just looked at those 2 games against St Mirren and he scored really highly in both those games. Maybe it might not translate to people thinking he's man of the match and everything, but I think he'll be spurred on a bit as well by that late assist he had midweek. That'll, because that's what he's added to his game. He's always been quite solid defensively, but feels as if he's becoming a bit more of a threat going forward now. The odd goal, but getting assists. So I'm going to go for Johnson, but I am completely biased because I'm picking my Sorare teams and, probably be Maeda or, we'll score a little bit to somebody else, whatever. I'll go Johnson.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I can feel the Johnson one. Lots of great shouts. Lots of 2-0s and 3-0s in the live chat. If you're watching this after we've been live, or anyone who is live, make sure you leave your score predictions, your man of the match shouts in the comment section. When we're live, there is no comments. It's live chat only. But when the live chat ends or the live show ends, it then turns into a comment section. And the comment section is empty. So your live chats kind of go into one space. So feel free to drop the comment after we've been done there. And I was going to say, on that note, McBride, I don't know if you know this. We've not really spoke about this, but I have had the beast of sweats for the last day or 2. I'm finishing top in contender D1. Get myself a wee bag of sand, which is going to be fun this game week. Let's get this in small screen up here. I'll maybe change tab in to show it a little bit nicer. But I had to sweat a Mexican goalkeeper scoring like 67 points or something like that, and he did. And I went down to second. And then Carter Vickers got an Opta adjustment today. So when I did my breakdown, I was talking about how many points Vickers scored. But today, Opta have changed their mind and they've taken away a duel or a tackle or something. And his score has dropped quite significantly for it that it's there. So we're on for, it doesn't even show you on that screen. We're on for 1,200 bangers, which will come out in the currency of my choice, which is pounds sterling. And we'll get that tomorrow night, thanks to Captain Jota, double decisive Dyson, Alistair Johnson with his assist, no Kasper Schmeichel clean sheet, of course, and Arne Engels. And Paul Lopez, the guy that almost screwed me. I had him in another Celtic team that didn't do quite as well because Kuhn and Maeda didn't do much. But yeah, big weekend ahead. Wee bit of form been caught my way as well. So hopefully we can keep that run going on. And yeah, some buzz, some week we've had. I'm looking forward to the weekend. McBride, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Thanks for coming on as always.
Yeah, you too. Enjoyed it. With a lot to catch up on, to be fair. So it's been good. But yeah, looking forward to the weekend. 5:30 game as well. Really like those Saturday games where you get that build up and stuff like that. You can order in some food, get a beer chilled, sit down and watch it. So yeah, looking forward to the weekend.
Saturday night evening game. We don't get many of them, but that should be good fun. To anyone that's going to the game, of course, travel safe, have a great time. And to all you that have been involved in the live chat, especially Patman and John with the donations, honestly, I can't say it enough. Thank you very much. It really does mean a lot to us. Everyone in the live chat has been on fire. I'd love to see the likes coming in. Hopefully, he's already subscribed to the channel. Hail, hail. And we will catch you next Thursday at this time. Take care.
Hail, hail.
Bye-bye. Hail, hail. One hoops.
One hoops.
Come on, you boys in green.